Okay, so from the newest brewery in Ireland, we have a new beer. This is Otterbank Brewing and Blending in Muff, County Donegal. Up next. Welcome back to Views on Brews. I am Brendan, and this is So It Begins from Otterbank Brewing and Blending in County Donegal. I am really excited to get hold of this beer, so much so that I got in contact with an off license and asked him to keep me one behind because I didn't want to miss out on it. And what I'm finding recently with a lot of breweries that's doing a small batch but really one-off specials, or new breweries or really exciting, interesting breweries, is that the beer comes on the market and it does not last 5 minutes, so it's all snapped up. So Ireland's going absolutely crazy for beer these days. We have been in this sort of craft beer brewing bubble for, well, at least the 10 years it's been going a bit crazy, but every year it's just escalated and ramped up. And now what we've got is people starting their breweries with really, really crazy beers. And this is one of those beers. Now, Declan Nixon's the head brewer, formerly of Yellow Belly Brewing. Not quite sure if he's still brewing there or if he's just diverted all his attention to Otterbank Brewing, but they're opposite sides of the country, so I don't know how that works. But he's produced one or two beers in the past that have been released very, very small batches, and I've never been able to get my hands on them. Yeah, so this is his first commercially saleable release in terms of like on and off trade, at the off licenses, at least anyway. So I am really, really excited. I'm really intrigued to know what this beer is going to taste like. Yeah, so if you've ever met Declan Nixon, the man himself, you'll know that he's got a very, very lively, bubbly, outgoing personality. He's not the sort of person who's going to be tame about his brewing. He's not going to be brewing a pale ale for the start of his own brewery. He's going to come straight out the traps with mixed fermentation saison, which is 8.2%. It's aged in pinot noir and Chardonnay barrels and then blended and then bottled to be enjoyed now or in years to come. Now, I've got two of these. I don't know how long I'm going to keep on to the next one, but I'm hoping that I won't have it before, let's say, the first 12 months at least. So again, I always say try and get 2 or 3 or 4 of these types of beers that are good for aging, and try and remember what they were like when you first got it and when it was released, and then 6 to 12 months later. And usually these beers are all evolving in the bottle, and the changes are usually for the better the longer they're in the bottle. But I know that this is going to be good now because he wouldn't have put it in, he wouldn't have released it. It's been in the bottle, I think, for 3 months. Bottle conditioning, and I think it's bottled with Brettanomyces, which is going to mean that you definitely will benefit from cellaring one of these for a year. So I've got one and I'm going to leave the other one, and by the time 12 months is up, this beer is going to be totally different to the one that I have in 12 months time. So you can consider this a part 1, and hopefully if I'm still making these videos in a year's time, I will do a part 2 on this exact same beer. And who knows, maybe it's rubbish now, maybe it's brilliant, maybe it gets better, maybe it gets worse in time. But that's all the fun of brewing, not knowing quite what you're going to get. Now, the initial fermentation of this beer is with Ardennes yeast, and it was aged then for 18 months in 2 different barrels, a Pinot Noir barrel and a Chardonnay barrel. I'm not quite sure how many of each barrels he's produced, but what he's done then is he's blended the 2 together to create the exact beer that he's happy with. But Additionally, he's added Brettanomyces, Lactobacillus, and Pediococcus in a mixed fermentation culture. So you can buy these cultures already pre-selected microbes and bacteria and yeast together, and you can add that into your barrel, and you can go and let the barrel do its thing, take on all of the oak character, the vanillins, all of the charring, and just see the change over the 6 to 12 to 18 months in the beer that you've produced. And that's exactly what Declan seems to have done here. I think I have that right. Anyway, it's initially a Saison beer, but given the fact that this has had 18 months in the barrel with the Brett, Lacto and Pedio, and then, as I understand it, he's also then, after blending, he's aged for another 6 months somehow, I guess, back in the barrels, or he's blended those two barrels together, or some way he's blended. So we've got another 6 months on top of that, and then he's got another 3 months bottle conditioning with more Brettanomyces in the bottle. So, I mean, what a way to start your own brewery. I mean, that's just very typical of this guy, Declan. Now, I don't know Declan, but I've seen him many times at beer festivals, and he just looks like a really, really interesting, cool character. And I expect his beers to be bold and in your face and unashamedly, brash and but then, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, those are very delicate flavors, and he's working with very, very interesting ingredients here. I know he's done a beer with, I think, damsons in the past, like a Berliner Weiss. What else does it say on the back just before I open this up? So the malts here are Pilsner malt, oats, Karagold, and hops are Hersbrucker. Hersbrucker actually is an interesting one because it goes well with Pils. I think Porterhouse Brewing Company in Dublin do a Hersbrucker Pilsner, which I think is absolutely brilliant. I really enjoy that beer. But this is brewed and bottled in Ireland by Otterbank Brewing in Muff, County Donegal. Always anti-fascist is the slogan on this beer. I've just read that for the first time. So it looks like Otterbank Brewing is going to be always anti-fascist. That's the statement he's making, and that goes very much in line with his character. Now, unfortunately, there's an otter on the front and 2 skateboards as well. I'll just show you that there. Unfortunately, I do not have an Otterbank Brewing glimmer to put this in, so I'm going with a White Hag one. I don't know. Yeah, I can get in there. This is going to come out of here pretty quick, so I need to get it in the glass. So it's rising up to the top, and very, very funky aromas already coming up. So the beer is looking to get out of this bottle and into the glass as quickly as possible, but it stopped rising there. It's just an initial burst of it. Quite a lot of carbonation going on, a lot of foam. There is Karagold and oats in here, so that's going to keep the body and the head very interesting. And yeah, the head is still there. I suspect over the course of 12 months, the head on this will reduce as the Brett and the Lacto and the Pedio, as the beer just continues to break down those long chain carbohydrate sugars. But as it stands, this is what we've got. It's thundering up the sides with carbonation. They're not crazy, not out of control, just really nice, strong carbonation. Has a very interesting amber hue to it, slightly hazy. Soft, mousy looking head of foam on the top, but the foam is perfectly sticking, clinging to the sides of the glass. Very interesting. And I actually get quite a whiff of the malt character in this. So it's Pilsner Oats and Karagold. I'll have to look up Karagold, but that's going to be a form of unfermentable, or certain proportion of the Karagold is going to be unfermentable, so that's going to give you that caramel flavors and aromas in there somewhere. I'm getting a bit of grape straight away on the nose, and it's like woody grape. So we're really sort of coming out of the traps with a kind of barrel oakiness on the nose and a bit of sweet caramel on top of that. Actually, the foam, as the big bubbles have died away, the foam actually underneath is fairly dense. So this is not going to go anywhere. Carbonation is still teeming away there. There's an interesting caramel note to this. Very, very enjoyable on the nose. Let me give it a bit of a spin and see what else is there. I get that faint hint of like tannin sort of oak from the wood staves from the barrel. And quite a lot of caramel. Anyway, cheers, Sláinte, and congratulations to Declan, Otterbank Brewing. It's really exciting having all these new breweries in Ireland. Land and Labour was the last one I looked at, also incredible. I'm just interested in these types of beers that are just absolutely out there and wild, and you know, force your mind to think about the beer and contemplate it a little bit, but also just have a beer. Anyway, let's get this down us. Quite a lot of caramel going on in this beer is the first thing I will say, and wine in some way. So the barrel has had quite a lot of I mean, it was 18 months in the barrel, so the barrel is the oak in it. There's like a, yeah, the oak is now consuming my mouth. It's like an oily oaky caramel sort of beginning to this beer. And slight hint of tannins going on there that although the beer is sweet, they're fighting it and they're drying it out as you're drinking it, and it sort of evaporates away from you. There is I'm getting a lot of the notes of white wine, so it really is focused in that direction quite a lot. Now, Pediococcus, lactobacillus, both of those, produce lactic acid, or, Pediococcus, they'll be sour in the beer. But is it a sour beer? Let me just check that out. Yeah, it's interesting. There is a sourness to it, but it's like harnessed and kept at bay by quite a bit of caramel going on. So there's sourness, but it never really fully realizes how sour it probably is in the background, because, and I'm just thinking about it now, it is 8.2%. Now, if that was a 5% beer or a 6% beer even, maybe that sour quality would shine through even stronger. Perfectly enjoyable beer, by the way. And then there's a kind of a spiciness to this as well. And I'm thinking that must be the Ardennes yeast culture or yeast, or check Ardennes out. But there's kind of like a caramel sweetness, a bit of sour going on, and quite a bit of spicy character. It's it's no means like a nuanced beer. This is like a fairly vibrant and in your face kind of a beer. Carbonation has died down a little bit now. maybe some of the darker fruits, some dark brown sugar sort of character in there. Vinous. There is that kind of vinous quality. I quite like, what I think I like about this beer is the caramel is there and it's quite strong, and then there's this kind of vinous sort of acidity. It almost feels like the acidity from wine, more so than pedio and lacto. And then sort of like a woody tannic sort of puckering of the mouth, where it sort of just dries it out for you. It finishes off and just dries out the mouth. So I kind of like it for that. Not at all what I was expecting. If I'm honest with you, would I say this is a Saison beer? I can absolutely agree that it's it presents itself in like a very strong Saison, in the fact that it gives you this spiciness to it. Yeah, so it's a really, really nice beer. Very, very interesting. But I have a suspicion that in 1 or 2 years' time, if you are able to put 1 or 2 of these bottles away and sell them for 12 to 24 months, I think this beer is going to be consumed by Brett. Now, I'll know more when I see the bottom of this, but if I find a bit of yeast at the bottom of that, I think what will happen is slowly over time, this beer will be less caramel and more vinous and more acidic. Is there a bit of funk going on in it? Not much funk on the nose yet, but I think it's got a while to go. So yeah, really interesting start to this this new brewery. Otterbank Brewing and Blending. So he's obviously interested in the idea of, you know, there's that you know, that sort of lambic idea of you know, blending barrels from different ages and different barrels gives you a totally unique beer, but you have more control over what you're going to end up with. So, you know, Chardonnay might come across as quite sweet, Pinot Noir might come across as quite dry. Those two things combined should balance each other out. Yeah, very interesting. It does say actually best before 22 on the back. Year 22. I think it's probably best before year 30, maybe. Leave it in there for 8 years and just throw it away in the back of the cupboard and forget all about it. But I reckon this beer will be absolutely at its peak in 12 months' time. I'm really interested now that I'm happy that I'm making a video of it now, because I will now keep the second bottle for 12 months, and in 12 months time you will get a part 2 to this video. Absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this beer. I think it's got a way to go to be at its peak, but I really, really like it anyway. 8.2%. I'm going to sit here and enjoy the rest of this beer. That's my view on this brew. Good luck and congratulations to Declan and Otterbank Brewing and Blending. I'm looking forward to tasting all the beers that you come out with in the future. Slodger, cheers, and it's on to the next one. Bye. And then